joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and my co-hosts are Juan Alanis and Angelica Casares. In today's episode, we have a small discussion about how Periscope made me my nephew's hero, an interview with Ramon Santillan about how your body language affects your ability to get your dream job, a look at the new Goosebumps movie, and a conversation with Federico Valiente about the Pollo Campero expansion in the United States. Just a reminder that you can find us on hmsnetradio.org every Thursday at 2 o'clock. You can also find our show notes and archives on thelittleradioshow.com and iTunes. For our conversation on how Periscope made me my nephew's hero, we were joined by our very good friend Leticia Manzano, who is going to be heard on several segments over the next few weeks. I know we have talked about Periscope on the show before, and Angelica and I and Juan are big fans. I've got a Periscope story about how Periscope allowed me to be a hero for my nephew recently. My nephew is a high school football player. He was injured recently during a game. So he was injured during a game, and during recovery, his team was still playing, and he wanted to be able to see the game. And it was supposed to be on internet radio somewhere, and we looked, and the radio station showed that the program was supposed to be up, but we couldn't get it to work. No one had it on any of the TV channels. It's a high school game. He was so upset, and so we tried everything, all of our mobile devices, the laptop. You've got 7 adults in a room trying to find this game for this teenager. And so he was He was following the statistics and the scores on Twitter because there were several reporters there from community newspapers that were covering the game. And I thought, out of the blue, wait a minute, well, maybe somebody is periscoping this. So I opened Periscope, and I couldn't figure out how to do a search on Periscope. But I did remember that it notifies Twitter. So I went onto Twitter and I did a search for the name of the high school and Periscope. And it showed a woman who had started a Periscope about 15 minutes earlier. I went in and I followed her on Periscope, and I opened the game, and you should have seen his face when he could see this game live on my iPad. And she had really great seats, and she was close enough that she could still get the play-by-play and the announcements over the speaker, and you could see everything. So she would Periscope about 5 to 7 minutes, and she'd take a little break. She'd Periscope another 5 to 7 minutes. He didn't get to see the whole thing, but he did get to see part of the game. And oh my God, you should have seen his face. Thea, this is great. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. And he sat there and he watched the game whenever it was on. And I was, it made me feel all warm and tingly that I was able to do this for him.
So we were at the U.S. HEC convention just recently, and Jeff Bush was there. And around this time, there's a lot of controversy happening, kind of taking place. And I had the bright idea that I was going to Periscope his speech. I didn't see anybody else holding up their phones, and I was like, it's probably, it's just a speech. I even went along and I added his hashtag, and I added the HEC hashtag also.
So you did your job well.
So yes, so I was covering it, and I was like, I think this will go well. It's just a preview of what these other cameras are going to show. Because Periscope's quality isn't these 9-pound cameras that kind of do just beautiful kind of work. Well, anyways, I'm going on. As I was Periscoping, as we all know, he got protested as he was up there on the podium.
Heckled. I protested and heckled.
There were protesters with billboard-sized signs on there.
At the luncheon.
Outside.
I was asking Juan, I was like, how in the world did they get those big old posters in here? Where did they come from? Well, anyways, I'm going off. So he was getting protested. I was Periscoping, and I kept thinking to myself, oh, they pulled him out. And all of a sudden, these people come up with these huge signs, and I'm thinking to myself, is that really happening? Is somebody getting them? What's going on? And I'm Periscoping, thinking this to myself, not reacting fast enough. And finally, I decide to go ahead and stop the broadcast. Little did I know the world is watching. Nobody else in that room was periscoping but me. And so people were getting first-hand accounts through our accounts. And I asked Juan, I went and had lunch on my own. I said, Juan, should I delete this? Should I eliminate this? It was like a few hours later. And he's like, do it. Just go ahead, delete it. And I was like, okay, so I did. And all of a sudden, not that long after, we get a notification letting us know that they had watched this protest on Juan's Periscope, and it was live, and everybody got to see it. And I was like, dang it! Did I
this was during the luncheon. This was during the luncheon at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's like one of their luncheons, and they as soon as the protesters got up, you saw, or as soon as they were escorted out, I should say, then you saw all the media get up and run out the door.
Yeah,
because that was the big story for the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm actually periscoping this podcast as we speak here, and I got a comment on the podcast saying Juan is trouble. I must say, yes, he is. He is quite some trouble.
I'm like, no, poor Juan was probably mortified.
I was eating my salad. I was enjoying my salad.
He didn't know what was going on. I'm like, you get the three of us, the three women together, and we're trouble.
Yeah, it is we are trouble.
But for those people who actually don't know a lot about Periscope, as I said, there were 7 adults in that room trying to find this thing for my nephew, and I found it on Periscope. And the first question I get is, what is Periscope? And I'm trying to explain to them what this is, and they go, wait a minute. So this random woman you've never met is out there on her cell phone, video streaming this thing, and you found it? I'm like, yes. How? And I'm explaining, and to them, it's like I was talking to them about a magic trick or something. And
it's this magic bean that you put in the ground and it kind of grows. It's called Periscope. No, just kidding.
But it was very interesting to be able to do that for my nephew, and to be able to connect with this woman who was out there, and he got to enjoy it, and it made his day.
I think that's definitely a sign of the time. So great job, Thea.
I agree. I think that, I've mentioned Periscope to a couple of people, and they don't know what it is. But I've seen a couple of great things on Periscope, which I think, is amazing. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, let me get one. And I was going to do it. And I was going to do it for work and talk about serious things. But so far, I've, Periscope parties and
Letty has a very good voice for Periscope. I have to say, she's very good at directing and telling people what they're watching.
But recently, you got to enjoy the Pope's visit.
Yes, for me, recently, the Pope was here in the U.S. and I was going to be at work much of the time. And at work we don't have access to televisions or cable. We're supposed to be working, and we're not allowed to stream on our computers. And even though I'm not a practicing Catholic, it was an important event. I mean, here's a world leader coming here. I just wanted to see him. Mm-hmm. He's Pope Francis, the rock star.
Periscope made that possible.
And so I was at work with my phone, Periscoping it, and then people would come up and say, what are you doing? And then I would tell them, and they didn't know what Periscope was, and I had to explain it. But I've gotten some new Periscope people on just based on that.
I love the fact that it's still so new, and you're still getting to explain things to people, and it hasn't been sort of tarnished. Follow us on the Little Radio Show. We're going to start Periscoping, so follow us.
If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and my co-hosts Juan Alanis and Angelica Casares are bringing you small talk about big topics. In today's job market, you need every advantage you can find. How often have you gone in to an interview and thought, this is my dream job, and know that you're perfect for the job, and then you just don't get it? Sometimes it's more than just your resume. Today we have Ramon Santillan from Persuasive Interview, and I had the opportunity to watch him give a presentation at an event we both attended. And I was very taken by the things that he was talking about how your body language can make all the difference in the world between getting that dream job and not. So thank you very much, Ramon, for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do at Persuasive Interview.
So what I do is I teach people how to better sell themselves through their body language. A lot of times what we do as a job or as a service provider, we think that's how it's going to sell us and our services. That's not true. It's really how you sell yourself, how you stand, how you speak, how you talk to people, how you listen to them, how you connect with them. That's really going to get that clients, that first date or that second job interview, the job offer. It's really what you want.
Give us an example of some of the most common mistakes that you see in your clients or the people that you've been working with that people should avoid.
Well, a lot of people don't smile. People think they smile, but when they're nervous, when they go to the job interview, they don't smile. And that comes across people. Again, for example, we deal with a lot of accountants and engineers in Houston. And accountants and engineers, they're introverts by nature. And they say, well, they should hire me because I have my CPA license or I have 10 years of experience with oil and gas. Like, well, guess what? Everyone else does here too in Houston. So why should they pick you? They pick the people that they like the best. They don't pick the best qualified person for a job. They pick the person they like the best. And that's when you go in, you should connect with them. And I teach people how to better connect with them. You have to get people to like you. You have to persuade them to pick you. Mm-hmm. Why are you better than everyone else? As far as interview, it's not just a job interview. A first date is an interview. When you meet someone for the first time, they're interviewing you, whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's an interview or not, they're interviewing you.
Now, that's a concept I had never thought of, but thinking about it here, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what you're doing. You're interviewing them for a quote-unquote position, a relationship in your life.
That's right. Job interview, first dates, also when you're meeting clients, they're interviewing
So what should you do on your first date when you're going for a job interview?
Well, a lot of things that we take for granted. You dress up. You don't do it very often. I mean, you have a couple of first dates, but you don't have a bunch of first dates in a row, just like a job interview. And you're trying to find like the right fit for you. So you have to dress up a little bit nicer, take care of your body posture. A lot of people, again, they show up hunched over, and that affects how you speak and how you project yourself. You can have the best resume, or you could be the best looking guy in the room, but if you're hunched over, people don't take you seriously. They say, well, that doesn't match up with the resume. That doesn't match up with the looks when this person's hunched over. Same for men and women.
So it's like it's having that confidence, kind of looking like you're confident when you get there.
That's right. I actually I created this thing called the confidence ladder, and it talks about when you first get the body language. For the body language, then you come the confidence, and from there comes the charisma. Once you build up those 3 steps, you get to be more charismatic, and the charisma is really what people enjoy.
So what are some best practices, like when you're going into the interview, like what are some best practices in terms of the behaviors, like what you can do to come off as somebody who's charismatic and likable?
Right. Well, you just have to do your research. You're going to go into a job interview and you're going to know that company. You're going to know that person who's interview you and sign out better than know themselves. You can do that by LinkedIn. You can do that by Facebook.
So do your research.
Do your research. Go to Pinterest. A lot of times, no one has any settings, privacy settings on their Pinterest. And when you go in, you can say, okay, I'm interviewing this person, or this person going to interview me tomorrow. I'm going to look up their name on Pinterest. I'm going to find what they like. And like, oh, I see that they like this kind of design, or they like these kind of houses. When you go to the interview, you casually bring up, hey, what do you think about this? And that person, that person likes that because it's on their Pinterest. Yeah. When you go on a first date.
Yeah. So it's like building rapport with them.
That's exactly right. You're not going to tell them like, hey, I looked at your Pinterest last night. I saw that you like this. But you casually, like...
Because they would be creeped out.
Right. That creeps people out.
But I've never done, and I know some people do this, where they look around the person's desk.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know who's going to interview, because I've been very much interviewed for like entry jobs, and so you never know who's going to interview you. You never know like who. Sometimes it's a collective of people,
right?
And it is all posture. But what I do is notice things on their desk. I never particularly like talk about it, but I know like if they have colorful things, I know that I can be bubbly.
Right.
And I know that if it's like a bland desk, they have nothing on there, I know they're serious.
Right.
And so I interpret it like so. And actually, I've been told several times by a lot of people that I do interview well.
So I think it's kind of what you're saying, like knowing the personality and who you're going to talk to, right?
Yeah, and then again, you say it's not the body language or the posture. It is, because your body language is not just reading people. It's actually understanding what they're saying. So, yeah, you might go into an office and there's no one there, but you can read what's on the desk. You can read what's on the wall. Like, okay, this person has a Eiffel Tower on the corner. That probably means they really like Paris or they've been there. That's a topic of conversation. Pictures of kids. Okay, they have kids or maybe they're nieces. I'm going to ask them about that. And that's how you build rapport. You didn't just show up talking about yourself. You ask them about themselves. And that's how you connect with someone. Same thing with the first dates. You go in, you're not going to go talk about yourself. You're going to do your research. Like, okay, I saw this picture of her at SeaWorld. Let me ask her about that. I have a picture of her with some kids, nieces, kids of their own. Let me ask her about that. And that's how you build that rapport.
So I know, Ramon, you do this activity with people about getting their confidence levels up. Can you walk us through what those steps are, just so that our audience can get a feel for the type of thing that you do?
Yeah, so this is actually real interesting. And research has proven that your testosterone levels raise by a significant percentage if you do the Superman pose. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You stand up straight, shoulders back, your hands on your hips, like Superman, like the iconic Superman drawing. Yeah. And you take 5 deep breaths. And you can do it anywhere between 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And that actually increases your testosterone. If you were to have a blood test immediately after that, your testosterone levels will be higher.
That includes women?
That includes women.
And what does that do?
Well, testosterone obviously helps you become stronger, faster. Again, makes you think quicker. When you're in an interview, for example, you're nervous. When you're first date or meeting with clients, you need testosterone to be able to process that idea as fast. When someone tells you, I don't like that, you immediately think, okay, what can I say that's better? It's part of the fight or flight response. Yeah. So again, when you open your chest, you take more in oxygen. More oxygen you take in, more red blood cells you create, and you're able to run faster, think faster, are strong, literally stronger.
Well, that's really interesting because I don't think a lot of people think about that. No. Doing that before, like you go into an interview, but that does seem like it would give you a boost of confidence.
Yeah.
So, for say people like me who remember absolutely nothing. Like, I remember absolutely nothing. Like, you can teach me, and we can go through it. And when I walk in, I fall apart, basically.
I mean, some people
right?
draw blanks. Some people draw blanks.
Yeah.
They
So,
get nervous.
what would you say? What are like 2 to 3 things that I can remember at the top of my head? If I remember nothing else, what would you say that I should remember when I walk into interview or to so on and so forth?
Well, when I meet with my clients, actually I have them practice and we practice under high stress settings because an interview is a high stress setting. Same thing as the first date meeting with the clients. A lot of times people like to practice in their little home office. So it's just them by themselves. And that helps, but that's not really going to help you because you're not going to remember because you didn't practice. That's not real life.
Okay.
So we'll practice where you are nervous. I'm going to make you nervous, and you're going to remember when you are nervous. And then, again, it helps you manage your nervousness because you know how it feels like to be nervous. You know how to manage that. The first thing I would say, remember this, is look at the other person. Follow their cues. A lot of times, again, when we go into a client pitch, we go and tell them how great our company is, how much money they're going to save, and blah, 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 blah. But we notice the other person, they start crossing their arms or they start getting their lips tight, start looking at their watch. People don't catch on to those cues. And when if you're talking to me and I'm starting looking at my watch, you should immediately know, like, okay, this is not interesting to this person. Let me switch gears. Let me switch topics. So think about that. What the other person, you're going to use the other person to guide you where the conversation is going to go.
So, Ramon, I know that you also work with entrepreneurs and getting them to work better with their clients, to do better presentations, close more deals, and make more money.
That's
Talk
right.
a little bit about that.
So a lot of times people, when you go to make that pitch, there's three parts of it. There's making the pitch, there's closing the deal, and the negotiation. Entrepreneurs and freelancers mess up on all three. When you try to close the pitch, when you do the pitch, you start talking about how great you are and all these things you are. However, you're selling the kind of like the features and not the benefits. And again, you have to look at the body language of the other person. Again, to start crossing their arms, start getting tight, or looking around, looking at their watch. Okay, this doesn't interest this person. Maybe price is not an issue, and I'm talking about how low my prices are. Let's switch it about how much money you're going to make. Maybe that's what interests them. So you have to think about that. Learn what they want and read their body language. The second part is when you're doing your closing. Freelancers are notorious for this. Instead of saying it's going to be $500, they'll say it's going to be $500.
Yeah.
See that?
Be assertive. Assert yourself, right?
Yeah, you have to. and an expert negotiator will hear that and say, okay, this person's not sure. Let me haggle a lower price. But when you say, so think about, are you making a statement? You're asking a question. And this is kind of the Clueless movie, Valley Girl kind of a thing where it's like, what's your name? Brittany?
Why do you look at me, Juan?
So is your name Brittany, or asking me if your name is Brittany, like, which one is it? Same thing where you're closing a deal. They're like, how much is it going to be? $500? That doesn't make. First of all, it means I can negotiate, and two, like, they're not really sure if they can do the job because they're not even sure what price they're going to charge.
That's a great business tip. Don't give them any wiggle room.
Right. Exactly right. And then at the end, when you're negotiating, so a lot of times you tell them something, and they're like, okay, I think I want to do this, and there's that uncomfortable silence, and the freelancer is quick to like fill it. So they'll say it's going to be $500. Quiet. And I also add, an extra month free. And we do that all the time. So next time you're negotiating with your clients, instead of trying to fill in the space,
I really like that.
Quiet.
Like, silence is okay.
Just stay quiet. Someone's going to give in. Usually it's going to be the other person. And they're going to say, you know what?
Well, these are wonderful, very practical, very helpful tips, and I thank you, Ramon, for joining us on this today. How do I find out more about what you do? You can go to my website, persuasiveinterview.com, and actually I'm going to have a special page for all your listeners where they can find more tips on this. So persuasiveinterview.com /The Little Radio Show. Oh, well, thank you very much, and we're so glad to have you had joined us today. I hope we can have you on again. Yes, I would love that. And if you're just tuning in, this is The Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org. I love to read, and I know that I say that a lot. One of the books that I know that a lot of audience members are going to be familiar with, either because they themselves read them, or because their kids read them, are the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine. This week, there's a new Goosebumps movie coming out that's a little bit different in that it's actually kind of a comedy. Jack Black is playing R.L. Stine, and in the movie, what happens is all of these characters that he has created come to life, and the kids have to save the day. Now, if you've never seen a Goosebumps, if you've never read a Goosebumps book, basically, R.L. Stine is considered to be Stephen King for kids. And so he writes all of these horror books and that have dummies that come to life and mummies that try and kill you and invisible boys and monsters in the attic and under your bed and all of this stuff.
So this is horror meets humor, right?
It's horror meets humor, absolutely, because he's writing for children.
Uh-huh.
But
this is for kids.
This is for kids. It's absolutely a movie, but it is horror meets humor. What I thought was interesting about this movie is it's not a movie that's based upon one of his books. They have done those, made for TV and otherwise, but it's a movie in which they are actually making R.L. Stine one of the characters in the movie, which is very interesting when you're talking about a real person that they're now fictionalizing.
See, what I liked about the Goosebumps movies, just watching them, and even now, like the old movies, like Goosebumps, what I like about them is that they show real kids in real scenarios, like that they're not like doing things that are beyond their age.
Yes.
They're doing things that are
very believable.
Yes, very believable, and they kind of show the personalities of the kids, and it's funny to watch. Even for me as an adult, I still enjoy watching Goosebumps because I think it's funny and it's well done.
And what they do a really good job of is what Mr. Stine does a really good job of is showing the children as real characters. Their parents are going through a divorce. They've just moved. They're being bullied. They don't get along with their siblings, or they do. There's, very real, very identifiable things that other kids can identify with for these characters.
And as boys, as a boy growing up, you can relate. You can go back in your head to those moments where you were with your little friends, and you can identify because they talk about those things too. So for me, that's why I enjoy it, and I've watched it with Edgar too, and he's kind of got a kick out of it. So I'm kind of excited about this one, and I'm hoping that we'll enjoy it as much as the originals.
And so am I. And Angelica, we're gonna drag you to the movie to watch it with us.
I am gonna watch it because I do notice that Edgar has a very big interest in it. Yeah.
So it should be very interesting. As I said, check the theater listings near you. We're certainly going to do the same. And for those of you who are just tuning into this episode, this is The Little Radio Show, and you can find our show notes and archives on thelittlерadioshow.com. And we're very pleased to have with us today Federico Valiente, who currently serves as the Senior Marketing Manager at Pollo Campero International, who is going to tell us a little bit more about Pollo Campero and their current expansion into the U.S., and more specifically into the Houston market. Thank you, Federico, for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. I'm pleased to be here with you guys today.
Tell us a little bit more about Pollo Campero. What I know about the company is that it actually started in Central America and it expanded internationally from there.
Yes. So Pollo Campero is a Guatemalan-based company. We started in Guatemala in 1971 and have since expanded to a number of countries. El Salvador was the next country that followed in 1972, and then we went on to the U.S., Italy, Spain, Ecuador, Honduras, Costa Rica. We're serving in a couple of countries right now.
One of the reasons why we're talking today is that the Pollo Campero is currently expanding in the Houston market. And I wanted to learn a bit more about why why expansion into the Houston market is so important for the company.
So when Pollo Campero first came to the U.S. back in 2002, 2003, we really followed the Salvadoran Guatemalan communities that already knew us here in the U.S., that migrated to the U.S. from their home countries. And so we had a built-in awareness when we opened the restaurant. And I don't know if you've heard, but when we first started out, we had lines out 3-4 hours of people waiting. The Salvadoran Guatemalan community very excited about us being here in the U.S. and offering them a taste of their home countries. As we've been able to establish the brand here in the U.S., we've been able to get customers from all over the world, not only Guatemalan and Salvadoran, but also U.S. born and other ethnicities. So we're very excited about it. Nonetheless, there's still a big pocket of Hispanic customers over in the Houston area that we feel that we can cater to. Right now we have 2 restaurants, so we're opening 2 more in the next couple of weeks, and we're just very excited to serve both Hispanic and non-Hispanic customers.
Now, I know that the brand is known to our Central American audience. How close is the food from what they're going to remember of what they had when they were in their home countries?
Well, I can tell you that one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is the fact that we still serve the same fried chicken recipe we started back in 1971. That unique Campero flavor, they'll be able to enjoy it through and through in a traditional hand-breaded chicken. But we've also expanded our menu items. So now we also serve citrus Peruvian grilled chicken. We offer other Latin flavors such as empanadas, yuca, horchata, flan, cuatro leches. So we offer a host of things. And so we'll be able to get a piece of home in what they remember and more.
So really quick, Federico, how do you plan to absorb sort of those Hispanics who are not familiar and those non-Hispanics who they want to taste? What would you say? How do you plan to reach them through the food?
Well, once we open our restaurants, we definitely like to become part of the communities. So we do a lot of community outreach and local initiatives to make sure that we involve the entire community and we let them know that our doors are open to anyone.
Now, one of the things that you haven't mentioned is that Pollo Campero is actually a big brand amongst millennials, which is something that I read in a news article recently. Can you talk a little bit more about why that is?
Yes. So Technomic does industry research, and in one of their latest findings, they found out that just after a frozen yogurt brand, Pollo Campero was the second most millennial brand that they track in their system. And I think that this is due to a variety of factors. Right now, there's a very big trend among the millennial and the young for authentic food, and I think Pollo Campero offers that. We offer a unique Latin recipes that you really can't make at home or find anywhere else. So I think that very much delivers to what they're looking for. Also, very important to them is a food that is healthy and that they feel it's fresh. And our recipes start from scratch. They're made by hand. We use 100% hormone-free chicken that's never frozen. It's always fresh. So I think that we offer or we deliver on a lot of things that this segment of the population is looking for.
How does our audience find out more information about the new stores opening up?
So they can find out more information by visiting pollocampero.com or by following us on social media, either Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Campero USA.
Well, thank you, Federico. I really appreciate
you taking
Federico. Time to join us.
Have a safe flight.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you all, and hope to see you soon at Campero.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of The Little Radio Show. Just a reminder that you can find links and additional information about our segments on thelittleradioshow.com. We invite you to leave a review on our iTunes channel.